Pizza guys and girls, does your shop have a no delivery list? What houses are on it and why? There was an older man who suffered from dementia that would order 4 fountain drinks and nothing else from my shop, then would tip about $300 every time. After hearing about it a couple times, I told my manager, and we all agreed to get in contact with his family, let them know we wouldn't take orders from him, and that they'd have to take some measures to keep him from doing the same with other establishments. God only knows how much money that guy gave away. Delivered pizza in high school living in New York. There was a couple neighborhoods that we had to be escorted by police who were permanently stationed on the corners there. When you got to the building we had to wait in the security booth that had bulletproof glass. This was all because people would call delivery places and just rob the people of the money they would carry, sometimes the cars too. I delivered to the dorms when I was in college, back before credit cards could be used to pay for pizza. In the largest men's dorm, we had a war with some of the residents after they got pissed when we wouldn't accept an expired coupon for a 14 pizza order. So they kept calling us up with ghost orders and making life hell for us over the course of a few weeks. So we stopped delivering to anyone in that dorm as we were the cheapest pizza in town. That did not go over well with them. The room assistants got every student in that dorm together and told them to knock it the F off or get kicked out. So we tried to deliver again and the same stuff happened. So we banged that dorm forever. It was cool by me because those dummies would place 5 to 20 pizza orders and tip $2. Long time ago for me, but we had a huge delivery area and several entire apartment complexes blacklisted because they were hideously unsafe for anyone thought to be carrying money. There were also a couple where we would deliver to the front gate only, not go into the complex itself. Greenspoint area, north side of Houston in the early 90s for those aware of the area. A lady on our delivery route was always just getting out of the shower when we arrived and kept accidentally dropping her towel. There wasn't a single driver in our shop who hadn't seen every disgusting fold and lump on the front of that 300-pound acne-covered body. The manager finally warned her that if she did it again she would be banned. She of course did it again, and I like to think the resultant loss of home-delivered pizza translated into a net benefit for her physical health just as it had done for our mental health. We had a guy and a girls order separately, then grab the pizzas and run. The girls had picked the food up and left, while the guy was paying. After 30 seconds the guy bolted. It was a $100 order. My manager, who is a frequent gym goer, leapt the counter and gave chase. The 2 girls had gotten into a car with the food, but when they saw my manager they drove off leaving the guy. My manager chased him 3 blocks, and was gaining on the guy when the girls pulled up and the guy got into the car. Unfortunately, all 3 of them went to school with a kitchen hand at the store, so we had names, jobs, addresses, and Facebook accounts. We contacted them all on Facebook, and got them to pay for the pizzas the next morning under threat of contacting police. We also put them on the no delivery list. Apparently our entire complex is on the do not deliver after dark list at a local pizza place. That was encouraging to find out a week after moving in. I used to be a delivery driver for Pizza Hut. I used to work the Sunday afternoon shifts and would have the same man order a supreme pizza every week. I was always the one to deliver his order because most of the time I was the only driver on duty at that time of day. Alan was a nice, quiet man who had a lovely front porch. One day, I didn't take his delivery for some reason. Poor Marvin took the delivery instead on the day that Alan decides to open the door stark naked. Alan wanted to show me, a small red-headed girl, the goods, not big black Marvin. Alan never got another delivery. Our greedy ass owner refused to develop such a list, even after 2 of our drivers were mugged at the same house. They wouldn't let us avoid neighborhoods, no matter how unsafe, no matter what time of day. Okay, we had a really nasty apartment complex in one area of Sacramento. Totally a no. One night a new guy took an order and actually accepted one from there. I was about to call back and say no. I was assistant manager at the time, but running pizzas that day, when in come 2 cops to pick up their pizza. They listen in and offer to tag along. I was dumb and crazy then. So we made the pizza and I loaded into my little truck and drove out there. As soon as we pull into the parking lot, the cop turns off all his lights and coasts into the spot next to mine. I walk up, start the spiel, and start listening to their story of this guy or that guy ordered it. I started to walk away and one of the shady dudes steps out of the bushes next to me, where he'd been hiding. Instantly, every light came on the cop car, flashes, both spotlights pointing right at me, the cops getting out of the car fast. Dude steps way back, I walk back to my car, and a couple cops got an extra free pizza that night, and I got a great story. My house got put on the deliver first sort of list because we ordered so much and so often. Eventually, they would know people's phone numbers and knew the address automatically and sometimes give us a discount. Yes. I worked for a pizza place in high school. One of my friends was killed during a delivery. Apparently, the husband had been in trouble before for domestic violence or something. I heard stories about the wife answering the door with fresh blood on her face, black eyes, that sort of thing. A couple other guys actually called the cops after delivering their pizza. Anyways, my friend shows up to deliver the pizza and I guess the husband thought he had called the police a few nights before. The husband shot and killed my friend. Worked at Papa John's. The only place on the no delivery list were bounce checks. We had one driver get his knee bashed sideways with a baseball bat and money stolen. I delivered to the same place the next night. They didn't care about getting robbed because the driver is only supposed to have $25 max on him all times. So everything over that $25 the driver had to pay for. This driver I think had to pay around $125 after being assaulted. When I worked at a pizza place, we just had one person that we wouldn't deliver to because he would always refuse to pay and hassle the delivery guy, saying the pizza was cold, took too long, wasn't the right order, whatever. He probably got a couple free pizzas at least before we stopped bothering sending him anymore. I delivered pizza in New Jersey. I went on the porch to see a snarling Rottweiler behind the door. Not a big deal. Happens a lot. I'm a stranger, the dog is just being a dog. The lady pushes him back. We do the pizza transaction and as I'm turning to go the lady said, "Oh my god, he's out." The back door was open and the dog was charging around the house about to come on the porch. I quickly opened the door to run inside but the lady screamed no. The really bad one is inside and I see a bigger Ottie just inside the hall, so I stick myself between the screen door and the real door and I'm trapped in an angry dog sandwich. The outside dog bites my calf because I can only close the screen door so much. Not much damage but I'm bleeding. The manager goes to talk with the lady. It is like 1/8 of a mile from the store or that lazy wouldn't have bothered and Rotties are penned up out back. As soon as the lady starts talking to him, another small mutt dog zips out the door and bites him on the hand. He made the call on no more pizza for them. In the late 90s I was still living in Detroit and in between desk jobs, so I delivered pizza as a part-time gig. Detroit's neighborhoods have been rough for a few decades now, but the 90s seemed like they were on their own level. I won't say the specific neighborhood, but there were some really rough ones. This one house though, his house was just in awful shape. I kind of figured this would be bad even as I was driving down the street to get there. Every other house, literally, was either burned out or very obviously abandoned. This one was just hitty looking, but I tried to be optimistic. I walked up to the door, awning kind of drooping over my head, and knocked. Almost instantly, the door cracked open, and all I saw was a dark hand with what looked like a Glock. "Leave the pizza and walk away." I complied, obviously, and told my manager that I wouldn't be delivering to that neighborhood anymore. Still stuck around with that job for another 6 months or so, but that was probably the only thing on that level I've seen. I used to deliver sandwiches for a shop. We had to blacklist this one lady who would call up last minute and demand 50 to 100 sandwiches for her meetings and she wanted them delivered in 15 minutes. We explained things to her over and over again that this was not how it worked, but she still demanded her order. So, when it showed up 45 minutes later than expected, she became a monster, causing a scene, not tipping, sending in complaints to the district manager, etc. This happened so many times, and finally, one day, she called in an order for 200 sandwiches, wanted it in 15 minutes. I delivered it myself and she took the sandwiches from me for her meeting. I sat there and waited for her to sign the receipt and waited and waited. Turns out, she took the sandwiches into her meeting and booked the hell out of there, not signing the receipt. She then called her bank to cancel the charge on her card and called us in for fraud. She had the nerve to call up our district manager and said that we owed this to her since all of her orders were late. She was blacklisted after that, and my district manager finally apologized for not believing me on this story. Drug reps are the worst. Have your own crazy no delivery list stories? Leave it in the comments below.